Hey everyone, it's Jade from ShutUpAndRockOn.com, and I am sitting here with founding member of Queensryche, Michael Wilton. Michael, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for showing up. So Michael, let's start off talking about your life early on. Who were some of the bands for you that really got you into rock and roll and metal and all that good stuff?
Well, the metal side of me, I mean, that was kind of in my late teens, like 18 and 19 years old. In Seattle, we were discovering all the import albums that were coming into the record stores, and they were all these metal albums that were coming from the UK and Europe and Netherlands, all these great bands. So, I mean, we were listening to, obviously like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden.
All the good overseas stuff that was happening.
Right. I mean, that's kind of fun, because we were a bunch of kids, that had two guitars, and so we liked the way those bands, used two guitars and the double soloing and everything. So that's kind of, that. And of course, obviously, I was influenced by Eddie Van Halen, Jimmy Page, and Jimi Hendrix, all that kind of stuff. So I run the whole gamut, though. I listened to a lot of music when I was young.
Yeah. And so I know that when you're like in college around that time, you meet the guys who end up being the later members of Queensryche. So tell me how that all starts going. You meet up and you're like, start a band. Like, what leads up to that?
Yeah, I was going to a music college called the Cornish Institute of Allied Arts in Seattle, and after a year and a half, I kind of ran out of funding. So I was at a party. Actually, it was a kegger. Where it was out in the field, and everybody drove their cars out there, and all the headlights were on, and you could have fun. Anyway, I met Scott Rockenfield and Eddie Jackson there, and we had mutual interests, and that's kind of how we got started. Over some beers and just talking about the bands that we liked, and and they asked, if we'd like to maybe jam sometime, and that's how it all started.
And I know you originally started playing bass, right? What made you switch from bass to guitar?
This was like in junior high school. I was a lot younger, and these were like garage bands that really never did anything. But anyway, I was playing bass, and then the guitar player in that band, I remember, was just learning how to play, and I figured I could play his part better. Than how I could play bass, so we switched. Nice. And then that's how I started playing, and then then it was just through attrition, practicing woodshedding and just trying to absorb as much guitar time for me as possible.
Yeah. And so like the technical earliest form of Queensryche is like Cross and Fire, which you have, which eventually turns into the Mob. Now, are these like cover bands? Are you doing original music with them, or what?
No, we were just doing cover music.
Okay.
And we were playing all our favorite bands: Black Sabbath, Judas Priest. So we did all those, and it wasn't until we got a little older and we decided we wanted to record an album that we decided to write some songs.
Okay, nice. So when Jeff Tate joins the band, it becomes Queensryche. Where does the name come from?
My buddy Chris DeGarmo said he had a dream and with this crazy lady that, anyway, kind of put it was the Queen of the Reich, and then we put the two words together, spelled it weird, and have been trying to explain it ever since.
I know, because I looked up, I was like, is that like a thing? Like, is the Queensryche something? But I couldn't find anything for it, so I was assuming it's like how Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast, that's all this dream that Steve Harris had, and it became this whole big thing for Iron Maiden. So you released the EP in 1983, and I personally think that that's some of your best work. Looking back on the EP, how do you feel about it?
Well, I'm very proud of it. I was like, I was 20 years old when that came out, so we were all still pretty young, and it was. We had 4 tracks back then, and that's how we did our demos. And then this couple at a record store called Easy Street Records heard it because we had dropped a tape off there, cassette.
Yeah.
Remember those?
Yes.
Yeah, and so they liked it and decided they wanted to put a little money into us and press some records. And we did 206 records and pressed, I don't know, a few thousand.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, it took off, and this magazine in England called Kerrang did a great article on us. It's called Armed and Ready. And from then on, we sold like 60,000 units of the EP, and then all the big record companies came in and made us offers, and we signed a big record deal, and I think I was almost 21 years old.
That must be so amazing, being so young, and the world's at your hands at that point, because the following records are so synonymous, like the first few are so synonymous with Queensryche. Looking at those ones, which one, when you went in to like record them, did you feel like this is going to be like a great record? All of them?
I don't think we thought of as far as calculating what we were going to do, because we were so young. I mean, we're like in our young 20s, and we're just kind of writing what we feel and going with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
And so like each album was like a writing, crazy ambition that we just, no direction or anything. We just kind of did what we did, and usually each album was a lot different than the previous one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what it was just a big growing as musicians and growing as people too, because we were, getting older, obviously.
Yeah.
And so they're all, natural progressions. But I think right around Rage for Order was my mid-20s.
What year is that?
That was 87, yeah. And, I think that's when the band started really, letting go of the heavy metal part of it and infusing everybody's influences. And so that was really a really fun record to make, and experimental in one way. And it really kind of catapulted us into a band with their own sound and their own image, I guess.
Yeah. And I know Queensryche is often regarded as like a progressive metal band, but like I don't think you're that progressive. Do you think you're a progressive metal band?
I think, just musicality-wise, I think there's elements of progressive, but we're a good old hard rock, heavy metal band.
You're a heavy metal band. I never really heard the progressive aspect that everyone always talks about.
It's, you're progressive if you have weird time signatures. So
I know, right?
So we have a lot of that, and but we don't mind.
Just call us what you want.
Yeah.
We'll play the music. But and you guys have also been fairly politically driven to some degree with like Operation Mindcrime and all that stuff. What influences those records for you guys?
A lot of it, you look for influences, and it's kind of a reflection of the time.
Yeah.
And you just try and portray it, as cool as possible, it's one can choose to write about girls and drinking and partying, or one, we didn't really want to do that. We wanted to write about things that were current and that we felt passionate about.
Mm-hmm. You didn't feel passionate about girls and drinking and partying?
Well, that's behind the scenes.
Yeah, I gotcha. And now tell me about Soulbender. Is that your first solo endeavor?
Yeah, Soulbender was just we had some time off with Queensryche, and I put that together with some buddies from Seattle and Vancouver, and put that out, and it's it's still available, I believe, and maybe another one someday that might happen, but everybody's really busy.
I know,
now,
you guys especially.
So, but yeah, I really like that album. A lot of people love it, and they're always asking, "Are you ever gonna tour? Are you ever gonna tour?"
Because I read that like a couple years ago, you guys were supposed to like do a new album and like tour or something. But I'm assuming now that did not happen.
No, it just ended up we remixed the first one and put some extra songs on it,
Okay.
and then the touring part just didn't work.
Doesn't work out. I got you. And then another thing that you do on the more solo end of it is Ratchet Head, right?
Right.
And
I have all the songs ready to go. I just gotta get organized someday and put it together.
Okay, because I know that's more in the likes of like the Queensryche thing, and I couldn't find out a lot of information about it, so I was going to tell you about what's going on with that.
More crazy music, I guess.
Crazy.
Yes, and it's pretty out there, heavy. So, but yeah, I have all these aspirations to eventually get them done.
So nothing's out with that officially yet.
No,
It's
we
just
had
the name.
we had one single that came out, "Coming for You," and then life happened.
Yeah, as it does, as it does. So that's something that's kind of in the hopes to get out sooner than later. Okay, and you have beer out.
I do.
You do have beer. Tell me about the beer.
Beer. I've had this beer for sale since 2010, and it's called Whip Ale. It's an American pale ale, and it's available online. It can be shipped to your state. So check out whipale.com or Facebook Whip Ale, or marinamarket.com, and it's a tasty beverage. Everybody loves it.
I don't know much about beer, so you're like, it's American ale, and I'm like, I have no idea what that means. And I know you also had like kind of like a clothing line thing going on at one point. Is that like happening still?
It's not really a clothing line. It's kind of like we made shirts and T-shirts for like Whip Ale, and then we made some other shirts for Whipwear,
Okay,
which
yeah,
was
Whipwear. That's what it was. That was the name of it. I couldn't remember what it was.
yeah, but too much to do. I don't have it. I need like 5 or 6 of me to do all these projects.
More than 24 hours in the day to get that all done. And I know Queensryche is working on a new album.
We are.
Tell me about it.
After extensive touring, we've just been kind of doing sporadic touring this year, and just everybody's writing and putting together songs and demos. We've got 12 already that are with the producer right now, and he really likes them, and we're just going to keep writing until we get a chance and get things started.
Okay.
As far as like a pre-production and then getting everything started, which should be very soon. It's we're in August right now, so I think like maybe in September or October we should get done. But we'd really like to get something out by next spring. So.
Okay, that's a good goal. Is there anything else that you're working on or up to that I don't know about?
No, not really.
Not
I mean,
really?
it's like I think you covered them all pretty well. Even the Whipwear, that's an old one.
Yeah, I know. I was doing my research and I was like, So I had to pick up on that. So is there anything you want to like plug or talk about? What are you guys up to next?
We're just gonna keep doing some summer gigs, and like the support of the fans. Check us out at queensryche.com or queensrycheofficial.com, and Queensryche Facebook and Twitter and all that. So
Yeah.
appreciate your support, and hope to see you all soon.